Hello, good morning. Welcome to Patient Monitoring Innovation Challenge webinar. We're happy to be partnering with Henry Ford Healthcare System. And we have Dr. Scott Dulchavsky, the CEO of the Innovation Institute at Henry Ford Hospital today, and Maura Rosenfeld, the Chief Business Development Officer of Healthy Mice, winner of one of the previous Henry Ford Healthcare System challenges. My name is Lena Rogovin. I'm Digital Health Analyst of Startup Nation Central. Startup Nation Central is a non-profit, non-revenue, non-government organization. Our goal is to promote Israeli innovation ecosystem by connecting it to the world, to the multinational corporations. We do it in several ways. The first one is knowledge. We have Startup Nation Central Finder, our online, free of charge, the most comprehensive database and platform of Israeli ecosystem. We map more than 6,000 innovation companies, multinational corporations active in Israel, academic projects by TTOs, technology transfer organizations, we connect the entire ecosystem by bringing delegations of multinational corporations to Israel, multinationals looking for innovative Israeli technologies. The third pillar of our activity is knowledge and insights by way of connecting the ecosystem to specific areas of innovation, to specific projects. This webinar is an example of one of them. Meetups, challenges, whatever. So that's in a nutshell about SNC. Now I'm happy to ask Scott several questions. Before we start, a couple of words about Scott's background. Dr. Scott Dulchavsky, MD, PhD, currently professor of surgery, molecular biology and genetics at Wayne State University School of Medicine. Scott serves as the Roy D. McClure Chairman of Surgery and the Surgeon-in-Chief of Henry Ford Healthcare System in Detroit, Michigan. And as mentioned, the CEO of Innovation Institute at Henry Ford Hospital. Welcome, Scott. Happy to have you here.
It's great to be back in Israel.
Let's start with a couple of words about Henry Ford Health System.
Sure. Henry Ford Health System is a multinational, multi-hospital healthcare system. It's a little over 100 years old. We have little over $7 billion in assets. We take care of approximately 2 million patients a year in all of our facilities. We also wholly own a health plan, health alliance plan that covers a little over a million lives. We are broadly interested in all things innovation, and the Innovation Institute that was formed from that is a separate not-for-profit corporation wholly owned by Henry Ford, but has the additional freedoms to be able to engage much more quickly at the speed of business. Not quite the Israeli speed of business, but certainly quicker than most partners in the United States. We've been coming here to Israel now for almost 5 years to try and engage the healthcare ecosystem that you've talked about in specific devices and digital health. I think I've been here 10 times in the last year or so interacting with that healthcare system, and Startup Nation Central has been a wonderful host to us.
This new challenge is about patient monitoring.
Yes.
What are the challenges you are facing in the current setup?
Yeah. So let me talk a little first about the challenge mechanism, sure, because that has been a very fruitful one for us. It's been very efficient. It is one of the quicker ways for us to engage in a structured way about various healthcare problems. And we've looked before at mental health, we've looked at avoidable hospital readmissions. Very recently, we've looked at artificial intelligence in radiology. This particular challenge that we're looking at is trying to solve the problem of, from beginning to end of your healthcare journey, how do you monitor that patient? And it changes over time. For instance, I'm a surgeon. When a patient comes in for a procedure, I have an interaction with them. I don't know a lot about them. So there's a pre-habilitation, a pre-hospitalization phase. And we'd like to know a little bit about how you are going to interact with this procedure. Everybody is different. When you come into the hospital, and there's a variety of monitors that are placed on the patient, very often invasively, that tell us much more specifically about you, how your heart, lungs are doing, how your stress level is with that. Then you may undergo either a sedation or an anesthetic process. We need to know a lot more about you during that process. These are all different monitors, by the way. They're changed out in each different phase of your journey through the healthcare system. We finish that, then you're in a recovering phase, maybe in an ICU, maybe in a general medical ward, depending on how severe the procedure was and how sick you are. Different monitors go on the patient then finally you're discharged to home, generally no monitoring. An awful lot of data comes out of all of that, almost all of it worthless. And so this healthcare challenge that we're posing is there a single source solution that we could provide to the patient, potentially at our very first interaction, that would tell us a little bit about who you are in that, so we can optimize that journey through our hospital phase. Part of it would be the actual monitoring device itself, but a big part of that is also analyzing and filtering that information that comes from that device. We might need to know an awful lot at certain points of your hospitalization and not so much during the other phases or when you go home. So that is this challenge in a nutshell.
Are there any specific parameters you're looking at?
You know, I think the best thing is to leave it as open as we possibly can. We would like part of the solution to be about the actual monitoring of the patient. We are very interested in that filtering capability as well, because you can get data overload very, very often. So we only want to know when there's something going on that really demands attention.
Coming back to the challenges you mentioned, it sounds like it's true for any hospital, any healthcare provider. And there are a lot of great technologies in the market. Some of them are very advanced. Only in Israel we have maybe up to 100 startups focusing on remote monitoring. So why Henry Ford? What is unique about your model, how you work with startups?
So a couple of things. First of all, we are a not-for-profit healthcare system that is not a university-based. So we do not have to, we're not encumbered by all of the challenges that provides. For example, we don't need to be in any way owning any IP that anybody brings to us. If you want us to, we're happy to. We really don't care about that. So there's some freedom with the startups on how you can interact with us. We can design that in a variety of ways. I think the value that Henry Ford in particular brings to a startup is a few. One of which is it's a very large learning laboratory. So we have inpatient facilities, we have hundreds of outpatient facilities, we have over 2,000 patients that we monitor actively at home at any day. We bring a healthcare payer to the table that might let you know a little bit about what the future interactions, how you might get reimbursed as a healthcare startup into that. And then the way that the challenges are structured is we have a defined healthcare champion internally in that. So you're not interacting with the big black box that is a $7 billion organization, in that you have somebody's cell phone number in that. In this particular challenge, this is going to be based initially in our Department of Anesthesiology, because we think that that's the easiest way to compare head-to-head some of these solutions. But obviously, we would like this solution to be applicable to cardiology, gastroenterology, internal medicine, surgery, and virtually anything that has you interact with a healthcare environment. So ideally, this solution, when developed, would be a cross-platform answer for a lot of the challenges that we have in healthcare, not just in the U.S. as well.
Great. It's very helpful information. Before we switch to Maura,
Sure.
Could you give us a bit of the technical details about how to apply, how the process of the challenge itself?
Sure. And Startup Nation is helping us host through this webinar and many other interactions on this. So we'll open it today for these challenges. The interaction would be a simple explanation of what your solution might provide. We're assuming it's not market ready quite yet and needs some interaction, and that is the help that we will provide using our internal champions on that. The process is a 1 to 2 page application for this that we will then have subject matter experts review over the next few months. We will come back and have almost a Shark Tank competition for, we're assuming, 5 to 10 finalists of this. That will be in late November, early December, and then we'll announce a winner in the beginning of the year. When that winner is announced, then we will have direct interactions with that winner. There's $75,000 that is involved in this challenge to help support taking this product further, and obviously an awful lot of interactions with us at Henry Ford.
Thank you. Now just wanted to remind you that we'll have time for Q&A after we talk to Maura, so feel free to send your questions in the chat you see on your screens. Hi, Maura.
Hi.
Hi. Good to see you.
It's nice to be here.
Thank you. Could you just give us a brief description of what Healthy Mice does?
Absolutely. Healthy Mice does vocal biomarkers that you can use to assess someone's health situation by what's going on with their voice. For example, with a respiratory disease, that we'll be able to tell you. And we won the challenge for preventing patient readmission.
Right, so that's why you're here. Could you tell us a bit about the process and your experience and how it's going?
Actually, we started the contact with Henry Ford actually even before the challenge. As part, I think the first visit I made there was through a delegation last summer that went to Israel. They're a fantastic professional team, really supportive. The application process is quite simple, so don't be daunted by that. Now, obviously, those of you listening can tell that by my accent that I am perhaps more used to working in the US environment than you might be feeling right now. It doesn't matter. This team has been to Israel many times. They know how to deal with early stage companies. They're very supportive, very professional. I think what Scott mentioned is an important point. They know how to identify the champion for you within the hospital. Trying to navigate a healthcare system in the United States is quite complicated. And by virtue of building up a good relationship, even when at some point we even switched our clinical champion, as you recall, and the team really supported that effort and they knew how to deal with it. And even now we're still working on the contract. Because of the good relationship that we have, everything can go. There's a lot of listening and true understanding of what our needs are, which can be very different as a startup from a healthcare system. But I always feel like they're listening to what we need and trying their best to accommodate what we need to do.
Any specific tips for the applicants?
First of all, I think, again, I do business development. I always think it's key to build up a relationship. Take the time, talk to people, talk to the team at Henry Ford, get to know them. Make them understand what your needs are, where you're coming from, and that relationship will only help you go forward. So that would be my best advice. And also, Israelis aren't known for being shy, but you also need, but you need to also listen, not just to tell what you're about, but to listen as well to what they're telling you, and to understand what their needs are and how you can reach common ground. That's my best advice.
Yeah.
Scott, do you want to add something?
I want. I'd like to put an exclamation point on what Maura said, because ultimately we are the customer for that. So I think listening is very important. I have interacted with probably 300 startups here in Israel over the last few years, all that had very good solutions, most of which we weren't interested in. And when we're not interested in how you're trying to tackle a problem, you should think about that. But what? Because if the customer doesn't want it, it's going nowhere. So I think that bi-directional listening, and you also said that we listen to you to try and understand the pain points that you have to get through as an early stage company. I'm glad that you suggested that we listen well also.
Absolutely. Of course, I drive them crazy, but that's
Little.
Thank you. Thank you, Maura. Thank you, Scott. So we're open for Q&A.
We do have a question coming through. The challenge is clear in general. Could you please define specific clinical unmet needs, what they are, and how they are addressed today? What is currently missing in the clinical setting?
Hospital, you're interacting with legacy systems. So our flagship hospital is 850 beds. It was built 100 years ago. The monitoring technologies are in silos. So when you are in the emergency room, you will have a variety of electrodes placed on you. You may have some type of cutaneous monitoring for pulse oxygenation and things like that. That is currently not transmitted to our electronic medical record, which happens to be Epic in our healthcare system. So it's written by hand very often. When you then get transferred into an inpatient bed or an operating room or a catheter suite, an endoscopic facility, a CT scan, those monitors are removed. A new set of monitors are placed that measure some of the same things and some different things. Again, that does not go in an electronic medical record. Let's say you have a more invasive procedure, a surgical procedure, different monitors are placed by the anesthesia team. Some of those go into the electronic medical record. Once your procedure finishes, those are removed, and you go into the next phase, which is an inpatient facility, different monitors. If you're in a monitored bed, I think the standard of care in the next 5 to 10 years will be every patient gets some level of monitoring in an inpatient facility. We have only 10% of our beds that we can do that in right now. It is a multi-million-dollar endeavor to make our entire hospital to be appropriately wired for that. Then you go home, completely different set of monitoring equipment for that. The data streams for each one of those are poorly defined. What we need to monitor is incredibly poorly defined. Maura's company, Healthy Mize, is hopefully going to provide one of those solutions for us through a handheld device, a phone, to be able to monitor certain aspects of that, but there's currently no evidence-based direction on that. So the monitoring solution device or digitally based is an important component of that, as is the streaming. I mean, many people have Fitbits, watches, things like that that monitor certain health information, and that those have not popularized currently in the other than for the walking well. We currently do not use any of those technologies in our hospital system for any type of monitoring whatsoever. I think a component of that relates to the data stream for that, and whether that is a freestanding platform data stream or more beneficial would be some interaction with our electronic medical record. Hope that answered a little bit.
Thank you for the answer. We have another question coming through. Do the companies need to be registered companies, or could something relatively early stage apply to the challenge?
No, early stage is fine and actually preferred in that we wouldn't, we'd like you to be a little farther along than wouldn't it be nice, and then a miracle happened solutions, but we're very comfortable with early stage ideations.
Although I think you need a company to have a contract.
That's
yes. What they asked, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, thank you for the clarification.
Can you give a bit more details about the data streams that people currently see within the patient monitoring system?
Well, I think the three classic ones would look at heart rate, respiratory rate, and blood pressure monitoring in that, with possibly some level of oxygenation on that for patients who are undergoing sedation.
Thank you. Another question is, could you give a little bit more detail about the selection process? Who could be the winner?
Okay, well, in the last 3 challenges that we've ran in Israel, we've had between 30 and 80 applicants. Some of those self-selected out because we didn't think the solutions could be appropriately introduced into our healthcare system. We get a team of X, so the selection team will be a team of anesthesiologists, a team of inpatient doctors that will see these streaming monitors, monitor data. It will be somebody from our IT system, and then finally some of the business development folks at the Innovation Institute. Look at all of those solutions in that, and I guess some of it is like making hot dogs. You're not sure exactly but those are the criteria that we'll look at. Is your solution feasible? Will we be able to contribute to it to get a prototype solution that we'd be able to test in a hospital environment in an appropriate length of time? We wouldn't like something that's going to be a decade out. We'd like some solutions over the next 1 to 3 years that we'd be able to test. We're also not procurement, so I'm not looking to purchase something right now. So if it's market ready, that's wonderful. I'm happy to pass that along and introduce that to somebody in the healthcare system. But if there's an applicant that's looking just as a sale, that this mechanism is not appropriate for that. And we've had a number of those in the past.
Fantastic, thank you. Is this challenge open only for Israel?
This current one is, yeah.
Okay, so thank you all, and
Thank you.
Good luck to all the applicants.
Looking forward to seeing some of your new solutions.
Good luck.